Hello, 欢迎回来 Davin Biology. Now, this is our part 2 video of our SBP state paper. Now, if you missed part 1 is I did the structured question section A. You can click the link over here lah. So that would be our part 1 if you missed it. Okay, so for part 2, we'll be focusing on essay section B, question 9, 10, and 11. So pure science students, this is our last paper already. Come on, let's do this together. Now, first essay question, Form 5, Chapter 4. Together with Form 5, Chapter 2, right? This plant chapter, right, have not come up for the past 2 years. So this is the third year already. Also very high chance being a question. Okay, so for Chapter 4 is about our vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. But you can see here, this is showing you xylem. So we'll be doing xylem only for this question. Now, if you still cannot differentiate between xylem and phloem punya structure, now for xylem, right, they always have two tubes. One thinner one called the trachea and one thicker one called the xylem vessel. Now for phloem, even though it looks quite similar, but when you see in diagrams, it will be very obvious. Now phloem, right, will be like a bamboo and then a lot of sections, they will show you like rectangular sections. Then beside it, there will be one cell sticking to it. Very obvious one. Okay, you see this one cell, this is like one strand like that one. So for this one, it's called the sieve tube. And for this one, it's a companion cell. Yeah, so this one you go and read through yourself. So I'll be just doing xylem over here. Whereby the first question, very common, they ask you to state two characteristics of the xylem structure. Now for this question, they didn't ask you to explain the characteristics. So always, right, characteristics, right, you have to state and explain. Okay, but for this one, they just ask you to state only, meaning don't have to explain. Lesser marks are easier though. So number one consists of dead cells. So let's say they ask you to explain like what explain characteristics. So dead cells, what does dead cells actually do for xylem is it forms a hollow tube. So this hollow tube will allow water to flow through it. So you all know xylem punya function is to transport water and mineral salts. So to transport water at the center have to be like a hollow, like a pipe like that. So the cells, once they finish forming the xylem, they will die. So once they die, right, inside punya components will basically degenerate and form like a empty tube, what we call as a hollow tube, to let water flow lah. So you can say to form hollow tube to transport water. Okay, moving on. Second one taken by lignin. So lignin is like this kind of wood fiber that supports the xylem, because number one, xylem is dead, so they need something to support it. The lignin, no? And if they ask you to explain, of course, you can say provide mechanical support. Simple as that. Okay, so these are the two most common characteristics I have for xylem. Now, another one you also can say is the arrangement. The arrangement, right, we call it as end to end. Meaning all the xylem vessel cells, right, they are one stacked on top of another. Hence, you are able to form what we call as a continuous tube long. Okay, we should go to the second question. They ask, explain the role of xylem in providing mechanical support. So the lignin, just now we say, provides mechanical support, right? So yeah, how does it provide mechanical support? Is because it has lignin. Now, so it's a bit like repeat this point over here. Okay, but you cannot now go and say, oh, the lignin provide mechanical support. So how does lignin provide mechanical support? What's so special about this lignin? Okay, so this lignin, right, since it's wood, it's hard, right, it can provide its support for the plant. But why do we need lignin to support the plant? Okay, number one, the cells are dead. Number two, because water has pressure. So when water flow inside that time, right, it will exert pressure on the walls. If the walls are not strong enough, the xylem will collapse, and therefore the whole plant will fail lah, basically. So therefore, that's what I have to say here, prevent xylem from collapsing due to high water pressure. So just like the part 1 video I mentioned, if you want to write down the answers, you can pause the video and write them yourself because there are some answers are already pre-written here because it's quite long Okay, yep. So lignin so you need to remember, xylem, besides having characteristics to allow water to flow in it, the second is lignin. It relies on lignin to support it, because without lignin to support it, the whole thing will fail basically, then the water cannot flow. Okay, so yeah, if they ever ask characteristics of xylem, right, you just need to think about like what characteristics does the xylem have to let water flow inside it. So the dead cell hollow tube is the most easiest one lah. Okay, we go to the next one. Also part of your Form 5 Chapter 4, whereby this is under a topic called phytoremediation. So phyto means plants, remediation means remedy, means in Chinese you say 治疗医治, okay, but it means cure, but it's not used to cure disease in human, it's to cure the environment, clean the environment, 清理我们的大自然. So there are 3 types of phytoremediation. Now the most common one that the question will ask, right, is a sunflower one. Okay, not this one, sunflower. Okay, so what does sunflower act as, and what does it do? How does it cure the environment? Maybe you all can comment at the comment section to let other students also know. You all try to help each other lah. Okay, so this one I don't want to mention sunflower. Okay, go and find out yourself. Maybe you can comment below and tell me, yeah, what does sunflower do? How does it act as? How does it contribute to phytoremediation? Okay, for this question, it's a. They didn't mention the plant here. Okay, the question didn't mention lah. So I already write here for you. Water hyacinth. So by the way, let's read the question first. The fish inside river X contain high amount of lead, Pb, plumbum. Using the plant in 9.2, explain how the plant can overcome this problem. So why is there a lot of lead? Because there's factory here that release chemicals or heavy metals into the river. So when the river have a lot of these heavy metals, of course it's not good for living things like fishes, for example, because these are poisonous metals. So they will use a kind of plant called water hyacinth. It's a kind of plant whereby it can absorb lead from the river. Means it can like absorb this kind of poisonous toxic substance from the water and sort of clean the water. So therefore, number one, you can name the method first. So you can say this method is known as phytoremediation. Now, according to the marking scheme, right, you mentioned the plant punya name also got marks, right? So for example, like the sunflower one punya example is they absorb radiation. So they show you radiation one, you mentioned sunflower also got marks. Okay, for this one is lead in water. So water hyacinth. Now how does it able to absorb lead? So it is 6 marks, quite a lot of points here. So number one, you can say whereby it has roots that grow deep into the river. Now, their roots are so special whereby it doesn't just absorb water and minerals, it can also absorb lead. So you can say which are able to absorb lead from water. And then this plant, right, also very special. Once they absorb lead, now some of you say, then where does the lead go? Now they accumulate the lead inside their plant, which they are actually able to tolerate the Pb, the lead, which is not poisonous towards them actually. So that's what I'm going to mention next. Okay, the plant, the water hyacinth, you see the water, I write short form here, is able to store lead in it. So lastly, you can say, how does this method help you solve the problem? So therefore, if I absorb the lead, the water now is clean, is clear from lead, so that's how I solve the problem. So the last point, you can say, hence, reducing the lead content in river. Okay, so that's it for this one. Oh. Okay, then question C, also part of this chapter, which they also quite like to ask, I find out quite often they like to ask this also, is the comparison between these two processes, X and Y. So X, this process you can see is something coming out from the stomata of the leaf. So there's literally only one thing that comes out from the stomata, which is water. Of course, there's gases exchange as well, but if these gases exchange, they will show in and out. So this one only come out one direction only, so definitely is water. So process X, this one you all should know, is called transpiration, evaporation of water through the stomata of the leaf. Now for process Y, it's also water coming out from the leaf, but this one is coming out from the edge of the leaf, not through the surface, the stomata of the leaf. So this process is slightly different. It's called guttation. And they always like to ask you to compare these two processes. So because these two processes involve loss of water, so they are similar in the sense of they release water. But the way they release water, the water that they release, the process involved, everything is completely different. Right? So they ask you to compare here. So again, compare meaning similarity and difference. So before we get to the difference, let's talk about the similarities first. Okay, so this one I put down a bit first. Okay, we do similarities. Now I will type the answer over here. Okay, the first process you can see, right? See, both leaf. So right, both process occurs at the leaf. So this is the easiest one. And the second one I mentioned just now already, both is water come out. Right? Just that the way the water comes out is different, but both involve evaporation of water, or we say loss of water. So we say both involves permanent loss of water. Yes, the water loss is permanent, means once it evaporates, you don't get it back. Okay, then the next one we can say is this. Now, when water is being evaporates from the leaf, right, it will cause what we call as like a pooling effect, like a pooling force. When water comes out, it pulls the water from below. So meaning both, right, involve what we call as transport of water and mineral salts. Both helps in transport of water and mineral salts from roots to leaves. Can? So now the main one is difference. Very often question asks us the difference. Now difference, right, we can straight away start with the process, because the question didn't give us, it just say process X, process Y. Now in essay, usually when they give you an unknown, right, only for essay structure usually doesn't work, because structure the marks is lesser. Essay usually more marks. So when they give you unknown, you can always name the unknown first, remember. So first we can start by saying, okay, I bring this up a bit. X, we can say it's transpiration, as I mentioned just now, and this one is guttation. Now, transpiration and guttation, both of them occurs during different time of the day. So you should know very well by now, transpiration occurs when there's sunlight during the day, whereby you can say occurs during, don't just say day, say hot and windy days. Because not necessarily is daytime there will be transpiration, because if it's not sunny enough, the stoma doesn't open. And guttation occurs during what we call as humid night and early morning. Yeah, you cannot just say morning, must say early morning, as in like dawn time before the sun rises, because once there's sunlight, usually then stoma will open and it's transpiration already. The next one, water. Now, where does water come out from is different. So just now we say this one comes from the stoma. This one comes from the edge of the leaf. So it's two different parts. So this one we can say it's through stomata. This one through the edge punya lobang there, right, is called guttation. What am I saying? I'm so sorry. Through the hydatodes. Alright, so for these two processes, now for some of you who are still blur, like why daytime you will come out from the stomata, nighttime come out from the hydatodes, because now remember, when nighttime, when there's no sunlight, basically, stomata doesn't open, as you just mentioned just now. Okay, no stomata, the gut cell, no photosynthesis, the stoma doesn't open. But however, right, inside a plant, right, let's say here's a plant, their roots still continue to absorb water, which there will be root pressure that will push the water up slowly but eventually to the leaves. So when water reaches the leaves and the lobang all close, if there's too much water in the leaf, they have to find a way to release this water. So they will release it through the side here lah. Hydrotodes. So they will push the water out from the hydrotodes, which is at the side of the leaf. Understand? Right, so then next, the water that comes out, it comes in different form. So I'll go through this one first. For transpiration, right, the hole open, water evaporate. So when water evaporate, water will be in the form of what we call as vapor. So water is released as water vapor. For this one, water is released as droplets. So this water, right, is not for guttation, right, it's not evaporation, but guttation is you force the water out because there's too much water, then you like go toilet and pee. So you can see the water is in the form of droplet because you force it out. So since this is vapor punya water is pure. There's nothing in it. But for guttation, since this water is you force it out, it's like you pee. You force water out from your body. So the water will have dissolved contents, which is like salt. So here's the same. You have mineral salts. Okay, and the next one, the type of plants. Transpiration, all types of plants carry out. So there's leaves in this plant, there will be transpiration. Almost all plants has leaves. Now the next one, guttation, right? We say only occurs in non-woody plants, herbaceous plants. Now when I say this, then a lot of you ask, then what about woody plants? If woody plants, then they cannot release excess water during the night long. Okay, for woody plants, right, their stem will have holes or pores called lenticels. So lenticels are like stoma of the stem, whereby if there's too much water, it can evaporate through the lenticels. So they won't have guttation for woody stems. Okay, only like herbaceous, like grass, for example. That's why early morning when you BJK, you step on the grass, it's usually wet because they are herbaceous plants. They undergo guttation when there's no sunlight during early morning. Okay, the last one. So transpiration, as we know, produces cooling effect because transpiration is like sweating, so it produces cooling effect in plants, but guttation does not. So this is like the maximum marks they can ask, like 10 marks. But I seldom see they ask 10 marks for this one. Usually they will just ask different, usually 5 to 6, which is more than enough. But let's say if they ask 10 marks, yes, these are the easiest one I pick up for you. Okay, now moving on. Question 10. Now this is Form 5, Chapter 11. Now for this question, I won't go through the whole question because got one part, Form 4 actually, quite easy one. You can do yourself. Now Form 4, Chapter 11 is immunity question. 2021, 2 years ago came out. Last year didn't come out. 2 years ago came out in structure if not mistaken. Okay, so this year we do one essay. So there's a small chance like it will come out in essay, so we just do. Okay, so the first one is second line of defense. Now let's read here. They say a carpenter has stepped on a nail which is rusty and contains bacteria. The part becomes inflamed and causes it to become red and painful. So they're asking us to explain inflammatory response, inflammation. Now this is one of the second line of defense. Okay, so second line of defense, you have three things. You have fever, inflammation, and phagocytosis. So when you are infected with virus or bacteria, right, first your body become warm, and sometimes some part of your body will bengkak, like sore throat, the throat bengkak. So because once bacteria infect you, when a certain part is infected, right, it will, what we call as inflame, will become swollen. Now this thing will stimulate white blood cells, your immune cells, to come to the part to kill the bacteria there. So, which is a very important response lah. That's why usually when you have infection, there'll be swelling, there'll be inflammation, because these things stimulates other bacteria, other white blood cells to come. Okay, we still read the question first. How inflammatory response can destroy and neutralize harmful microorganisms and toxins in the early stages of infection? So basically this question, they want us to explain the inflammatory response lah. Okay, So when, let's say here's your skin, your tissue, kena cucuk by a nail, basically there will be blood spray out. Okay, once there are germs or bacteria that infect this area, your blood vessels, right, will release something called, or not your blood vessels, actually your tissues around here, right, will release a kind of chemical called histamine. Now, histamine is a kind of, I would say, a hormone that stimulates the entire inflammatory response. Now, this histamine is the reason that an infected area will become red and swollen, as they mentioned here. Did they mention here? Yeah, red and painful lah. But yeah, swollen as well. So because histamine, number one, okay, this is the beginning of the inflammation process. It causes blood capillary to expand. That's why it got swollen, no? So this part will like bengkak, become swollen. Now, as it becomes swollen, more blood will flow here because bigger ma. So the pipe bigger, more water, right? Same thing here, no? Increases blood flow. So the reason why it's red, because more blood. Why swollen? Because blood capillary expansion. So you can see these two things that we can see on the surface, right? It's because of these two reasons here. Why bengkak? Blood capillary expand. Why red? More blood flow here, no? Okay, why do you want more blood to flow? Because with more blood flow, it will carry more white blood cells, specifically phagocytes will come to over here. Okay, now as more phagocytes flow here right now, histamine also does one more thing. It increases permeability of blood capillaries, so that the phagocytes that come here can diffuse out to kill the bacteria here. So more blood flow, more phagocytes come here, and also the permeability increases, they will come out. Now, not just phagocytes, clotting factors as well, to of course help in blood clotting. So for the remaining 2 marks, we just explain what does these two things do. So you can say phagocytes basically destroy bacteria through phagocytosis. So phagocytosis is the process of white blood cell eating the bacteria. So they just eat it, destroy it. Clotting factors, you can say, carries out blood clotting process. And then the next one, the inflammatory response is the second line of defense. Name 2 other second line of defense. So just only I mentioned, right? We have fever, and the one that we just only written above, phagocytosis. Yeah, so you can see inflammation and phagocytosis usually works together. Okay, for this one, I'll just briefly mention it, then you try to do yourself because it's very simple. This one is one of the most common immunity question, which basically is the type of immunity one. You read first, they say here. Method 1, individuals injected with a substance X to give him immunity against the tuberculosis disease in the future. Means after you inject this disease, it's not to cure the disease now, but it's to prevent in case you get it in the future. So why? It's this one is injected after being bitten by a snake. So most of you already should know this. What are these two substances, right? So X is like COVID vaccine, and Y we call it the anti-serum. Alright, so compare the immunities obtained by the individual through these 2 methods. So mainly, okay, compare again is similarity and difference. Okay, I want you to focus on difference. So for difference, again, I want you to try to find out the difference, and then you all maybe can each name one difference in a comment to help everybody. This one you all comment also find the difference by yourself. Difference between vaccine and anti-serum. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. You can start by the type of immunity. So the type of immunity obtained from vaccine, this one is artificial, active, immunity. This one is artificial passive. Yes, so again, when come to assay, you always can name the unknown. So I will say artificial active, artificial passive. Then you guys help out each other. So, like for example, artificial active, how long does it last? How long do you get the immunity? What is inside artificial active immunity? When do you get it? Etc. etc. Go and find out. Okay, everybody. Write in the comment your answer. So this one, leave it to you. This is quite simple. Okay, our last question here, section C, reproduction question. Now, reproduction did came out last year, but it came out in structure. So, which means essay, there's a chance to ask. So, I think better we do also this one. From 4 chapter 15, this is reproduction. So, there's a menstrual cycle question over here, but not very tough one, honestly. It's quite simple. So, first one they ask, explain the effect to pregnancy if structure R suddenly degenerate during first trimester of the pregnancy. Okay, means like during the first stages of the pregnancy lah. So structure R, again, this is essay, so you can start by saying structure R is corpus luteum. So right here, right here lah. Okay, here better, corpus luteum. So corpus luteum, in the menstrual cycle, you have 4 hormones. So FOLP. Now, if you want to get yourself familiarized with this menstrual cycle, I actually also got one video put here lah. You can go and do a quick revision here. But yeah, P, the last hormone, is secreted by corpus luteum, progesterone. So no corpus luteum. You can say first you can say R is corpus luteum. Without corpus luteum, no corpus luteum. No progesterone secreted lor. And progesterone, no progesterone, the function of progesterone cannot occur, which progesterone is to thicken the endometrium. Because make it thick so that the zygote, the embryo can implant and then can grow into the fetus. So which means now all of these cannot occur. Right? So we say, look, no progesterone, the endometrium unable to thicken. And eventually, the whole endometrium wall breaks down. Endometrium is at the uterus wall, the female part here. So this wall have to be thick for implantation, for the embryo to stick there. So right now, the wall will break down, will degenerate, we say. And yeah, degeneration is another point. Cannot thicken, and then will degenerate. So if it degenerates, mean what? Embryo cannot carry out implantation. If you cannot implant, so what happened to the pregnancy? I haven't mentioned the main point yet. So what will happen to the pregnancy is no pregnancy, we call it miscarriage, meaning 流产, the baby died halfway during pregnancy. So last one, this one must say because that's the effect. Okay, this is the effect. What I wrote here are all the explanation. So yes, the effect, this is the main one, must say. Therefore, miscarriage occur lor. Oops. Okay, so moving on, almost there already, guys. A woman has taken contraceptive pill, 避孕丸. Of course, contraceptive pill is to prevent pregnancy. Now, how does it prevent pregnancy? This question they got briefly mentioned a bit. They give you a hint. That's why I say not too tough, this question. Let's say, containing a hormone secreted by the structure R in high concentration, starting on the first day of menstruation every day. So, contraceptive pill actually have what we call as the hormone that comes from here, progesterone. It has what we call as synthetic progesterone, meaning artificial progesterone. So progesterone, this hormone, right, has a negative feedback on F and L, which both of these hormones comes from the pituitary gland. So negative feedback mechanism is stop these two hormones from being secreted. Okay, so but for this question, they focus more on LH, luteinizing hormone, because they say process P, hormone Q, process P. How does it affect hormone Q and process P? How does this pill affect hormone Q and process P? Which is hormone Q, you can see is cause ovulation. That's process P over here. So this question, we focus on LH more lah. So you can say the progesterone here inhibits hormone Q. No hormone Q, no ovulation. No ovulation means no secondary oocyte comes out. No secondary oocyte come out, even though when there's sperm, there will be no fertilization. So this is how contraceptive pill can prevent pregnancy, because no ovum come out, no matter how many sperm come also, there will be no fertilization, there definitely will be no zygote form, no baby will form. So basically contraceptive pill is to prevent the production of the secondary oocyte, to stop fertilization. Okay, so these 3 marks, very simple. So the effect here is, you can see that it inhibits pituitary gland from secreting hormone Q, which is LH, I'll say here, luteinizing hormone. And then no LH, no ovulation. No ovulation occurs. When no ovulation occurs, meaning no secondary oocyte release. So therefore, no fertilization occurs. No fertilization, no pregnancy lah, no zygote form basically. Okay, so no fertilization, no zygote lah. You can even add. Okay, so quite simple. Can pause and write down yourself. Now for question B, X is pointing at the placenta. There's the placenta. Explain the role of X in relation to the structure R in diagram 1.1. Okay, R, our corpus luteum. Now, if they ask relationship between this and this, placenta punya main function you all should know is site of exchange of substance between the mother and the fetus, right? Nutrients go into the fetus, waste comes out. But if they ask relationship between the placenta and the corpus luteum, now both of these got one similar function, which both of them secrete progesterone. This one also can secrete the progesterone. Now, but corpus luteum only secretes progesterone during the first 3 to 4 months of pregnancy. After 3 to 4 months, right, corpus luteum eventually will still degenerate. Okay, but you cannot degenerate too early, like just now they say just now, meaning like the first part of pregnancy, because first part of pregnancy I need the progesterone to form the endometrium. But once the placenta forms already, right, which is around fully forms after 3 to 4 months, then the corpus luteum is not needed anymore, because now this fella can produce the progesterone, so it will take over the corpus luteum. So the role of X in relation to structure R in diagram 1.1 is, you can say after 3 to 4 months of pregnancy, the corpus luteum will degenerate. And after it degenerates, the placenta takes over it. So you can literally say placenta takes over the corpus luteum to secrete progesterone. And you can even say this is to maintain the thickness of endometrium. Okay, a bit ugly lah my words, but just to make it faster a bit. Alright, so you can write this yourself. And then our final question, also a very simple one. This is contraceptive methods. So contraceptive methods, again, meaning methods to prevent baby. prevent pregnancy. So we talk about contraceptive pill just now. Okay, now they add in condom. Okay, what the question one here is advantages and disadvantages of these two contraceptive methods. Now, since this question is only 5 marks, right, you actually can group the advantage and disadvantage together, meaning you do have to separate condom, contraceptive pill, or you can separate and explain also can, which is what I did here lah, will be better lah, in case next time if they just ask an individual question then you know lah, ho. So for condom, okay, I already written down here, advantage is, of course, both can reduce abortion, because some people, they just horny, they don't want baby. After they horny, they where got baby one, then they will throw the baby away or abort the baby. So very immoral thing to do. So that's why this thing can, if you know you prevent baby, then you reduce abortion rate lor. You prevent STT, which is sex transmitted diseases like AIDS, for example, because AIDS are transmitted through unprotected sex. Yeah, you can write the short form STD. So condom prevents that because it prevents direct contact of sexual private part. And then of course this method does not involve surgery like IUD, for example. This thing no need surgery lah, so very easy. And also you can say it's a very cheap method also. Okay, so a lot advantage, actually a lot. So I give you 3, 4. And then disadvantage, it might cause allergy. So some people might, sensitive, skin sensitive, this thing might not be a very good choice. And yeah, there are cases whereby this thing leaks. But the percentage is very low lah. Usually the pregnancy prevention rate is around 99%. So condom actually is quite safe. So this leaking is a very small disadvantage. Okay, for contraceptive pill, now if you want to separate the advantage, right, you cannot repeat the advantage here. If you repeat, then they only give you 1 mark. So contraceptive pill are very easily available. Most pharmacy has it, and it's not a permanent method. So again, it's not like tubule ligation, which is a method you cut the fallopian tube. This one don't need to cut one. So it's not permanent. You can only when you eat the contraceptive pill, you won't have baby. After the next month you don't eat, then you'll be pregnant. So it's not a permanent thing, it's just a short-term thing. And just like condom, this thing might cause allergy. Some people are maybe allergic to the substance inside here. And yeah, since contraceptive pill just now we say affects your hormone level, it inhibits FSH and LH, these 2 hormones. So which means it might cause hormone imbalance in a person. So lack of LH, FSH, then this person will have like PMS punya symptoms lor. Get easily angry, moody, angers punya stuff lah. Okay, yeah. So these are the disadvantages lah for contraceptive pill. Okay. This one only is the last question, sorry, left out. Okay, this one is actually what we call as overcoming infertility. Infertility means problems in having children, meaning there are maybe problems relating to the reproductive system, causing either the male or female unable to reproduce. Okay, so you can see here is they show you the problem here is the female got blockage of fallopian tubes, meaning to say the sperm is unable to go and find the ovum to carry out fertilization. Okay, and then here they say the husband got heart problem, meaning this fella cannot have intense sexual intercourse process lah. Okay, so regardless of which the problem, right, the method here to overcome is, okay, I show the answer here lah, is IVF, in vitro fertilization. Now, meaning to say, now for example, especially this is the most common problem relating to infertility. So whereby fertilization cannot occur inside the female body. So in vitro fertilization, meaning the fertilization carries out outside the female body, sort of like what we call as test tube baby. That means the whole process have to be carried out in a lab. So if this guy also got heart problem, same thing, he cannot have sex. So therefore, the doctor have to take his sperm and then take the mother's ovum out from her body and fertilize it inside the lab. Yeah, so regardless which of the problem here is, the method is the same. Okay, so first, they got to remove the ovum from the ovary. So they will remove it, okay, using something called a laparoscopy. But you don't have to mention this thing. If you don't know, fine. Okay, just say the ovum is extracted from the ovary, and then you will place it inside a petri dish, right, containing nutrients. Okay, as they mentioned here. Okay, ovum is taken out from the ovary, and then okay, here I add one more point here lah. You can say then it's placed in a cultured medium. Cultured medium is got nutrient punya solution so that the ovum can stay alive lah, because got nutrients there mah. Okay, then after that, they'll take the sperm from the father and then fertilize it inside this petri dish here. This is called in vitro fertilization. Okay, so for sperm fertilize the ovum inside this petri dish containing cultured medium. Then after that, I form a zygote. So since there's nutrients here right now, they'll allow this zygote to develop. Means the zygote will use the nutrients here to slowly develop into they say form an embryo. Or you can say 8-cell embryo, but don't need to be too specific. You can just say form embryo. So once I have embryo, like I will let it develop like up to a week lah. After that, they will then place it back in the endometrium of the female. Now the whole process cannot occur outside the body. So it's not like you watch movie, the baby can grow inside a tube, inside a tank like that. No. So once I have this embryo, they will implant it back here, and then the embryo will grow like a normal through a normal pregnancy process lor. Then you see embryo inserted through implantation, and then the embryo develops into a fetus. You can even add one more here, embryo then develops into fetus. Okay, so this is how you explain in vitro fertilization. So remember in the essay, mention the method, got marks one. Then only you explain. So take out the ovum, fertilize it inside a petri dish containing cultured medium containing nutrients. Then once you get zygote, allow you to develop into embryo, then implant back. That will be it for our SBP paper already. So hope that I managed to help you guys a lot through this one. Okay, maybe I will try to upload 1 or 2 more questions, like not the whole state paper. Maybe I'll pick 1 or 2 harder questions to do right before your SBM. If not, then I wish you all the best lah. Hope that you guys benefit here lah. Okay, so good luck for your future. Bye bye.